Hello and welcome to the video for game design for Monday, week 16. So we have a couple presentations due, Daniel and Zion. Please put those in your Google Drive folder. We've got at least one presentation to watch, which is Sal's presentation here. Please take a look at that and then log into the class website and give Sal some feedback in the website forum. We also have an article here that you can check out. And I thought this is interesting. Of course, we're in a Zoom world now. Everybody is communicating via Zoom. And this is an article in Fast Company talking about how all types of games are being played via Zoom, including board games and role-playing games, and even games that were created just for Zoom. So that's an interesting article. Check that out when you get a chance. In this video, I'm going to talk to you a little bit about the board games that you've been working on. And I'm also going to talk to you about your new assignment. So let me start out by talking about the board games. So first of all, congratulations for those of you that got all your files uploaded. The board games are looking good. I'm really proud of you guys. You did a great job, especially given the disruption around spring break where we had to go to online training. Now, that being said, some of you, I understand, especially some of the artists who are working on these games, are not quite done with your artwork. And what I want to do is I want to give you time to finish your artwork and upload it so we can have the best possible games. So those of you who haven't quite finished the artwork, or maybe you haven't quite finished the rules or whatever, please finish those and upload them to the Game Crafter. And I'll hold off on ordering the games until we have those remaining pieces in place. I'd really like to see what you guys will do. So please do your best work and get that uploaded as soon as possible, and then we'll go ahead and order the games. Okay, but we are moving on from the games. So as I said, if you have some things to do, you can upload those finished files, and then we'll order the games when all those are there. But for the bulk of us, we're going to go ahead and move on to our final project. We've got about 3 weeks left at class, and so this next project is going to be creating a game which is basically a create your own adventure game that's created online. And what we're going to be using is this software called Twine. So your final assignment is to make a game in Twine. Now, let me go ahead and open this link, and we'll see what Twine is. So Twine's an open source tool for telling interactive nonlinear stories, right? Now, there's two flavors of Twine. There's Twine Online, where you can create a game right here on the Twine website, which is at twinery.org. Or you can download the software. Now, I absolutely 100% recommend downloading the software. And the reason is because if you don't, you're gonna be in a world of pain. Let me explain that for a second. So use it online would allow us to make Twine online, but I'm not even going to go there. I'm just going to click the Mac OS download and download that because that's the type of computer that I have. And of course, there's the Windows here and the Linux one there. Now, the reason you can use the online version of Twine to play around and get some ideas and stuff, but the problem is if you go into the online version and then you create a whole game, there's no way you can edit it. There's no way you can easily edit it because basically it just gets saved online to their servers and there's no way to make changes to it. So, whereas if you download the software, you can make it on your own computer and make changes. Okay, so it looks like my my file has downloaded. So I'm just going to say, open when done, and hopefully it will, well, maybe it's not quite done downloading. It doesn't look like it opened anything. This is opening in a few seconds. Okay, so when that's done downloading, it will open up, and I believe it will unzip it. Yep, there it is. And then we should be able to install the Twine software and start using it and take a look at what it is. All right. Okay, and sometimes, like if you're on a Mac computer, you may have to go into your security settings and, well, even on a PC, go into your security settings and tell your computer it's okay to download this Twine software and decompress it because, even though it's from an unidentified developer, you're pretty sure it's okay. So I know I had to do that on my computer a little earlier. And if I go over here, you can see now Twine is ready to install. And so I can just drag it over here to my applications folder and then you can see that down here, Twine shows up down here, and I can also click this and drag it down onto my little bar here, and now I can launch Twine from my bar at the bottom. Let's close all this stuff. Okay, and let's launch Twine on the computer. Okay, here's that same thing that I told you before, the little security settings. So let me just quickly go into my settings and change that real quick. I'll pause the video so you guys don't have to watch. Okay, so I jumped into my security settings and said it was okay to go ahead and let Twine open up. And so it says Twine is an open source tool for telling interactive nonlinear stories. There are a few things you should know before it gets started. We can do the tell me more. If you've never used Twine before, welcome. The Twine 2 guide and the official wiki in general are a great place to learn. Keep in mind that some articles on the wiki were written for Twine 1, which is a little different from this version. Most concepts are the same. If you have used Twine 1 before, this guide also has details on what's changed. Chief among them is a new default story format, Harlow. But if you find you prefer the Twine 1 scripting syntax, try using SugarCube instead. So in other words, Twine started out with a specific scripting language, and they've upgraded that, and now the default story format is Harlow. SugarCube is what people used before. Okay, so we're okay. It says your work is automatically saved. Now a folder named Twine in your Documents folder. Inside that is a Stories folder where all your work will be saved. Twine saves as you work, so you don't have to worry about remembering to save it yourself. You can always open the folder your stories are saved to by using the Show Library item in the Twine menu. Because Twine is always saving your work, the files in the story library will be locked from editing while Twine is open. Okay, that's it. Thanks for reading and have fun with Twine. Go to the story list. Okay, so this is the interface where you can create your stories, right? And so we can click the plus symbol here, and we're going to create a new story. So we're just going to call this, let's say, Joe goes to the store. Okay, and then we're going to add this new story. Now, this is the way it works. This is basically your story map here. And what happens is, this is the very first section that your player will get to, and then you can create new sections where they can go if they make certain choices. You know, like for example, you could say, Joe is going shopping today, and he has to decide whether he wants to go in the left door or the right door, and then have two different choices of where people are going to go. Right now, these little icons down here. This one, you know, to trash. This one to edit. This one will. Let's see. It says test story starting here. You could go immediately into the test mode to play test your story, and then let's see what else is in here. Well, you got all kinds of different choices here, and if we do large, we get to display this a little bigger, right? So if we double click on this untitled passage, it will let us go ahead and name this, right? And so we can call this start. Now it says double click this passage to edit it, right? So we can click on this and double click on it to edit it, or basically just highlight it and start typing, and it's going to go away, right? Now what we would have to do is put some text in here. So we could say, you know, Joe has decided to go shopping. He arrives at the supermarket and discovers that the back door, we're just making a story up here, the back door is wide open. And discovers, well, let's say that in addition to the front door being open, we'll say the back door is, let's say, open as well. Okay, so then you can give the user a choice here, because this is a choose your own adventure kind of game, right? So we could say go in the back door and go in the front door. Okay, so those are our choices. Now, the next thing that we're going to do is we're going to link this text to basically a new little segment on our story map here. So it'll take you, this first one, go in the back door, will take you to something we might call back door, and then this will take you to something we'll call front door. And then, of course, we build our adventure from there. Okay, now we've added this text. The question is, how do we make this text interactive so that it both names the new section what we want it to name it and makes it a link to go there? So Twine is really a fun and easy language for doing this stuff, and it's a great introduction to a very basic form of programming for something like a text-based game. So the way that you make something a link and also name the new section, whatever is inside of the link, is you just use your hard brackets, which are these right here. It's the key to the right of the letter P, and you put 2 of those in before the text that you want to become the link, and then you put the closing version of that tag, 2 of those in afterwards, and you can see those have turned kind of a little blue. So then we put 2 of them in front of front door, and then the closing ones after front door. Okay, so now we have a page called Start. And if you want to be consistent, you could use lowercase letters here because we have lowercase letters here. And then it says Joe has decided to go shopping. He arrives at the supermarket and discovers that in addition to the front door being open, the back door is open as well. Looks like I might have an extra space. No, I don't. So then you give them a choice: go in the back door or go in the front door. And by putting these double hard brackets around things, if we close this section, you'll see that it has automatically renamed this Start and put in the text that I suggested. And then it's created 2 new sections, one called Back Door and one called Front Door. And of course, those will be highlighted as links. And if you click on the front door, you're going to go here. Click on the back door, you're going to go here. Now, from that point, you just keep building and build your adventure. Now, this is very basic, and you might think, oh, is that all we're going to do? Some kind of basic choose your adventure story. But the Harlow programming language gets very sophisticated. You can do things like you can create inventories, and you can have people pick things up, and you can keep track of what those items are. You can keep track of time. You can keep track of how many times somebody has died, and if their character dies 3 times, you can say you lose and send them back to the beginning. There's just a whole world of things that you can do. Now, of course, if we wanted to further edit this, it would be, the identical process. We go to the back door, we double click that, and then this is the text they're going to see when they go in the back door. So it says something like, you enter, we'll say you enter through the back door. Okay, you enter through the back door. You enter, let's say, into a dark room through the back door. Suddenly is pretty bad phrasing for short stories and also for games. So let's say you notice a quiet moaning sound. It sounds like someone is hurting. So say you could say investigate the sound, or go home, or something like that, right? And then, of course, you could take each one of these, like we could make home, some other section that could say, you quit the game, do you want to start over? And then, of course, the sound could be, what happens if they go to look at the sound, right? Okay, and so now we see that there's two things branching off of this. There's the back door, and then they can listen to the sound, then they can listen to home. Now, let's say that instead of home being, some other page that they wanted to make, let's say that we said that we want to send them back to the start, right? So um, let's see. So what we would have to do is go back to the back door here, and then instead of sending them to something like home, we could say, oh, go back to the, and then we can put the word start in here. Now this doesn't always work. Sometimes it just makes a brand new page called start, but there's already a page called start, so it really should link back to that first page. Let's see what happens. Oh, it worked. So that's what this little link is. It shows it's going back and forth. So this home is no longer relevant, so we can click on that or hover over it and trash it. Since you want to delete home, this cannot be undone, and so we hit delete. Okay. All right, so now we've got the basic gist of a game, the start of a game, and of course it's auto-saving. And so, we don't have to worry about that, but we can now test it out. We can hit the play button. And looks like it is slowly coming online here. Okay, now by the way, this game is HTML based, so it's making basically web pages to support your game. So it says Joe's decided to go shopping. He arrives at the supermarket and discovers that in addition to the front door being open, the back door is open as well. Go in the back door, go in the front door. Now, I'm going to go in the back door because I know that there's a loop there that will allow me to come back here and then go in the front door again. So we'll go in the back door. It says you're in a dark room. A quiet moaning, right? You could go to the sound or you could go back to the start, and then that takes you back to here, and then now you can go check out the front door right now. Obviously, I didn't put anything there, so that's why we get that. But this just kind of shows you how to progress through the game. And then we have a bunch of links available on the website to give you more information about this game. Okay, so if I go over here to the class website, so this link will take you to Twine, right? And then we have a link here for how to create your first Twine story. Here's some information about using the Harlow formatting language. Here is a Twine help page, and here is a beginning tutorial. So this is the fun part for you. You get to go in, download Twine, start building something, figure out what you can intuitively, and then what you can't figure out, you can go to these tutorials and these Twine help pages and all this information, these wikis, and learn more about Twine so that you can build the kind of games you want to build. Now, I've made a couple of Twine games, and they're here if you'd like to check them out. This first one, let's go ahead and open this in a new link. This one is it's sort of a weird game. It's kind of like a poem. I was inspired by the word twine, and so I wrote a weird little poem, but it's actually a game in the sense that there's a pattern, and there's a path that you can take, and if you take that exact path, you'll basically win the game. So it's like, what if a game was embedded inside of a poem? That's kind of the whole idea here. And what if that poem was all based on the word twine, which is the name of the software? So, go ahead and play this if you like. See if you can figure it out, and hopefully you'll have some fun with that. The other one is more complicated, and it also shows some examples of what you can do with Twine. You can, of course, put pictures in Twine. You can put sound effects. You can put in GIF animations, all kinds of stuff. So this next one is more complicated. It's called the Rainbow Murder, and of course, it's got this little interface over here that it automatically puts in how many times you save the game, how many times you restart it. So if we click play the game, it talks about the fact that there was this this woman named Lily Rainbow, and she owned the Rainbow Restaurant in Beijing, China. And well, the American travelers, just knew her as the owner of this restaurant. She was very friendly and very supportive and very welcoming. But of course, to Interpol, she's the secretive and brutal leader of an international drug trafficking operation, because aren't all restaurant owners? Anyway, as a result, no one in law enforcement was surprised when she was found dead one evening in the Beijing Hilton, the victim of an exotic strain of poison. Miss Rainbow had many enemies and rival gangs in China and abroad. Your job as an Interpol detective is to determine who is responsible for the crime. So we click on that, it takes us to the next page. Now this is, I got these graphics off of my favorite website, which is Vecteezy, and I love that site. They have a bunch of cool stuff, but you may have other sites that you like to use. There's definitely lots of vector art sites, and of course you can create your own graphics, which is always encouraged. So here's a picture of Miss Rainbow. It says you've received a classified report which contains the following information, and it talks about where she was discovered and what was what was on her nightstands when she was discovered, and these are the things: a mobile phone containing a list of Americans in the Triad Gang, a notepad with a list of Americans who will receive no more complimentary dinners at a restaurant, and a journal with a page containing the name of Americans who refused to donate to the Shade Tree Initiative, a community restoration project she spearheaded. Given these clues, you must figure out the 3 different colors she was wearing and the 3 people who killed her so you can determine which gang committed the murder. So pretty complicated stuff you need to figure out there, and it gets much worse. Okay, so like for example, you go in here and it says Americans in the Triad Gang, and basically you don't have any other clues. You're just like, okay, well, all these guys and gals are named after colors, like Cash is green and this guy's green, Prince is purple, blah, 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 right? So you have to try and guess who the 3 people are that killed her. And obviously there's some kind of underlying pattern going on here that we don't quite understand. So we can go continue. And, I didn't guess anything, so it told me that I was incorrect. So I can go to the crime page. And then, of course, the other 2 sections are similar. Where you have to make choices, and it's a very difficult game. It's a very difficult puzzle, um, and you really just kind of have to stumble and think your way through this. And there is a logic behind it, but it's pretty obscure and hard. So if you play the game and you win it, bully to you, more power to you. I did think about adding a clue for this game, and I never had the chance to go in and add it. But I will tell you what the clue is in case you want to play this game and you get kind of stuck. So the clue is the word wheel, Wheel. That's the clue. So if you'd like to go ahead and give this game a shot, maybe you'll have some fun. It'll also show you some of the possibilities of what you can do with twine. Okay, so let's go back to, let's see, how do we get back to our main website here? Okay, great. So once again, we've got about 3 weeks left in the semester. Just to summarize and go back over what I said a little earlier, if you're one of the artists or perhaps somebody who's writing the rules of your game and you're not quite finished yet, please just take the time to finish and do a great job and upload those, and then I'll order the games. We want those to be as good as possible. But for the vast majority of us, and even for you who are finishing up the board game, we're moving on to the final assignment, which is to create a twine game. And you've got 3 weeks to do it, so take your time, have a lot of fun, make cool graphics, come up with a cool plot, and put in as much sophistication as you would like. And of course, the way that you're going to finish these games, you're going to end up with your final file will be an HTML file. And you'll be able to upload that to your Google Drive. And of course, if you put in a bunch of extra files like sound files and graphics files, you have to upload the whole folder that has all that stuff in it, so that we can see it. Because I'll link to them at the end of the semester from our webpage. So the goal is to create a really fun game. You can test it out with your friends or even with other members of the class. Send them links to it, and then you could take the test versions of it and take the whole folder and upload it to your Google Drive, and then share that as a link on the web, and have people test it out, give you feedback, and then make your changes. When you're all done, put the final folder up there with your HTML file and all your assets, all your graphics and sounds and stuff, and then I'll link to that at the end of the semester. Now, one thing that's going to be really key to designing your Twine game is to create some kind of a flow chart. And you can do that in your favorite program. You could use a Microsoft program to create a flow chart. You can create something on a piece of paper. But there is a cool flow chart in Google that you might want to use. And let me see if I can get there real quick. So I'd have to go to my email. Yeah, let's just go to Google. Let's see. Let's go to, well, I'm in Gmail here. So I actually want to get to my Pima account. So hold on just a second. Um, Let me go. I have two. It's got to be this one. Yeah. Okay. Here's my Pima account. So if you click here, yeah. So let me see. Where are? Okay. So here's a bunch of Google um, programs, right? And then there's more. And let's see. Let's see more from G Suite Marketplace. Oh my God. Wow. This is a lot more than I really wanted. Um, Let me see if I can find the one I'm looking for. Um, yeah, see, this is giving me a bunch of crazy tools that I don't want. Let me see. Wow, it's just crazy that there's all those possibilities of things that you could do with Google. Um, all right, but it used to be that this was really easy to find, but now clearly it's not. Maybe if I go into Drive, I'm hoping that somewhere in here there will be a happy little thing that helps me find what I'm looking for. And there's not. Okay. Well, okay, here's one called diagrams. I'm looking for something called Google Draw, and I don't quite know how to get there, but let's look at diagrams and see if this is, no. Oh, it says flowchart maker. So we'll say create new diagram. Uh, okay, let's just say flowchart, create, use root folder, whatever. We don't care. We don't care. Oh my gosh, I have to do all this crazy stuff. Where am I? I'm this. Yes, allow, please, God, let me work with this program. Oh my God, I'm dying here. Um, what else do I have to do? Allow. This is like it's like pulling teeth. Okay, here we go. So here's a program that's a lot like what I was talking about before. There was a program called Google Draw, if you guys can find it. And it lets you easily make shapes and then link them together with lines and make a flowchart. And this clearly is a similar program that will let you make shapes and drag lines to draw them together. So a flowchart is going to be key to designing this game. You might want to think up your ideas and start sketching out your flowchart before you actually go into Twine and start programming things. Because if you don't think it all the way through, you might end up doing a lot of extra work at the end, because there are some things you didn't realize when you just started making the game from scratch and didn't throw a flowchart together. So this is going to be really key to making your game work. And also, obviously, looking at those links, maybe doing some of the beginning tutorials to figure out all the coding options so you see what's possible. You know, if you want to make like a dungeon game and you want people to have an inventory that they can, you know, find an axe and pick it up, you're going to want to look around and see if there's any tutorials about how to do things like that. You know, where you can make a list and keep track of all the assets in that list. Um, so, you know, check out Twine, check out the website, check out the tutorials, the wiki, all of that stuff, and then think up your idea. Maybe sketch out a rough flowchart, you know, using software like this, or even Illustrator or Photoshop, or you can sketch it out on paper, and then go to work with designing it. Download the Twine software, and make the first version, maybe the first draft of it, and upload it, the whole folder with everything in it, to your Google Drive, and send the link to some of your friends, maybe some of your students in the game design class, maybe some members of your team, and get some feedback from them, and then you can improve the game from there. Okay, so that's it for today. We're gonna move on to working on the Twine games, and go ahead and those of you who are still working on the board games, just go ahead and upload those finished files as soon as you're done with them, so we can order the games. All right, that's it for me today, and so I will talk to you guys on Wednesday. Have a great week.